Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. My name is Ross Benjamin. We're talking NBA today, and my man Chip Chirimbus rejoins us after a sabbatical because of his health. We're glad to hear that he's doing much better with his health. But before we get to Chip, just a friendly reminder, folks, gamblersworld.net, they're our sponsor site. Right now, again, it's Thursday the 28th. You know what that means? Sweet 16 starts tonight. We have a 149 special right now at gamblersworld.net for not only myself and Chip, but 8 other great handicappers as well at the site. And that will get you all of the rest of the NCAA tournament, also the NIT, as well as the CIT and the CBI. So, as a matter of fact, just the CBI, the CIT completed last night. So look forward to that. Take advantage of that offer. And don't forget, folks, it's at gamblersworld.net is where we guarantee our packages in picks. So if any single game or multi-game daily pick or any subscription plan of 30 days or fewer, if you don't win, you don't make a profit, we will credit your account back the exact amount of your purchase price. Don't forget, folks, very important, give us a like. We put a lot of time and effort into these videos. We may not win all the time, but like we always say, we like to make you a smarter sports bettor today than yesterday, and we certainly would appreciate your like. And if you haven't subscribed to their YouTube channel, that's the Winner's Circle YouTube channel, take a second to do so. Click on that black subscribe button right underneath. If you're on your PC, you'll see a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And also go into your YouTube settings if you haven't done this already, or if you're new, and click on that alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 to 6 podcasts going up on our great channel. Without further ado, the man that Billy Walters calls for advice, the legendary Mr. Chip Chirimbus. How are you, Chip?
It's great to be back, Ross. It really is. It's a long hiatus, and I'm just rearing to go for the baseball season and whatever else you might throw at us.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you're back, number one, but more importantly, I'm glad you're okay, buddy. Because I know you went through some health issues, and hey, we all have to go through it when we get older. But in any event, the paramount thing is that you're healthy right now as we speak, and you're here talking to us, and we're glad to have you back.
Right.
You know, Chip, we're talking NBA today, and we're going to be looking at both TNT matchups, national televised game between Boston and Atlanta, and New Orleans and Milwaukee. But I haven't had an opportunity to talk college basketball with you, and I don't think NBA fans, probably 95% of them, are interested in what's going on in March Madness in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And I think that might be a conservative number. But, Chip, I know the way you are, you can't be happy with all these favorites cashing in the NCAA tournament right now.
No, the NCAA tournament has been a mixed bag. I've hit my megabuck plays a few times, but overall it hasn't been that great. Whereas my top play in the NBA have been cruising along. Last night we had the Chicago Bulls, and the night before we had the Lakers over the Bucks. So the NBA, as far as my top plays are concerned, are still on pattern, and they're on pace, and I'm really happy about that. This has been a very unusual NCAA season, as a matter of fact, too, Ross. You know, they have contests out here in Las Vegas, and they have 10 of the top handicappers in Las Vegas, and not one of them is over 500 on Saturdays. They put 5 games every Saturday, and there's one guy over 500, as a matter of fact, and everyone else is like chopping wood. So it's been a struggle. Like you said, the favorites have come up big, and players like us who like to take the underdog, and we're not getting value out of it. And some of the times we're just getting routed by some of these games.
Yeah, I thankfully I hung my hat on college basketball totals a lot. Right. Over the last 2 years, and did quite well with them. So that sort of saved me in that regard. I did have a nice underdog on A&M against Houston on Sunday, the game that went overtime. But we had 8 double-digit seeds get to the round of 32, and only one advances, and that's NC State. I mean, you can't really – I guess you can call them a Cinderella, but they're not a mid-major. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and I went to the favorite on Sunday because I laid Duke over James Madison, and it may be more profitable to be going that way, to going with the the favorite. But Ross, when something has been so successful for you over so many eons of years, shall we say,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to just change your philosophy overnight.
Yeah, sometimes you need to adjust, but when you make those adjustments, like we say on numerous occasions, they shouldn't be abrupt ones or knee-jerk decisions or radical ones.
Right.
There's stuff that works for you, and you might have to assess and say, hey, certain things aren't working the way they used
Right.
to at the rate they were. Or maybe it's just a stretch of games that what I've been successful doing isn't working right now. So there's a lot of thought process that goes into that. With us as handicappers, we're just not throwing darts up against the wall, folks, like many of you might think out there with some of your comments. But in any event, let's talk NBA.
Okay.
All right. So we got a good matchup tonight.
Yeah.
The New Orleans Pelicans might be the most underrated team in the NBA right now, in my opinion. And they're taking on Milwaukee. Right now, Milwaukee is a 1-point favorite. The total in this game is 224.5. They made the switch to Doc Rivers. I'm not so sure that it's panning out exactly the way they want, but they're still a dangerous team. And New Orleans is one of those scary teams that's flying under the radar, but it doesn't matter what I think on this game. It matters what you think, Chip. Tell us what you got.
Well, I think, like you said, New Orleans has really started to come on, and it's a little too bad for them that Brandon Ingram, averaging 21 points a game, went down. And they still managed to survive and continue on a positive pace. Zion Williamson has been playing outrageous basketball, contributing all around. And he's lost a great deal of weight since that midseason tournament. And I say that's a big difference with him, and I expect him to remain healthy. But these two clubs right now are kind of parallel. Milwaukee has a 2-game advantage in the overall season's record, though they are 17 and 18 straight up on the road and 15 and 20 against the number, whereas New Orleans at home, 20 and 14 straight up. And this is a pick'em situation, right? And they're 19 and 15 against the number. But the difference between these two clubs is that Milwaukee, as far as the total is concerned, has gone over 35 times and under 35 times. And the big difference comes with the Pelicans, who are 31 and 21 to the under. Now, these two teams play traditionally to the over. The last 7 meetings, Ross, have gone over 7 straight times, and 9 of the last 10 have gone over. Now, here's New Orleans coming off 20 points down their last time out, come back and take a 5-point lead in the final quarter, and then end up blowing the game anyway. And Milwaukee did the same thing to the Lakers on our Megabuck winner the other night. They blew a huge lead, 19-point lead in the second half, and lost in double overtime to the Lakers. So both these teams are hurting coming in, and I just think with these trends setting here, by the way, this 224.5 is the lowest number in the last 9 games for the total. So they've gone over 7 in a row, 9 of the last 10, and this is the lowest total that they're putting out. I think Ingram may be a factor, the fact that he's out and he's a big scorer. But you know what, Ross? There may be an even bigger factor here, and that is Josh Tiven. Do you know who Josh Tiven is? He's an NBA official, and his games that he's officiated in 56 games have gone under 36 times. I'm going to play the under here, not only because of the officiating and the injury to Ingram, but I think New Orleans, who's played really, really tough, is going to have to come up big against the Bucks here to keep this game under the total.
There you have it. Chip likes New Orleans and Milwaukee to go under the total of 224.5. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned New Orleans, how much they've gone under the total this year. It's worth noting. They've gone under in 12 of their last 16 games. They did go over in their previous contest, but they're also 5-1 to the under following an over in their previous game. So a lot of good stuff to like there. And again, Milwaukee is one of those teams. I mean, they're a high-scoring team. I get it. What frustrates me about Milwaukee is they're a lot better defensive team than they're showing right now. So yeah, again, it looks like a good play to me. New Orleans and Milwaukee under the total of 224.5. Chipper, anything else you want to add? Go ahead.
Well, tonight I've been running really hot with my NBA best bets, and I have one up there among the 2 games, and I have a 3-pack actually where I have a best bet, one single game on baseball, basketball, and football today. So, good luck to us all, and see if we can get off on a good foot in Major League Baseball. But I'm really looking forward to this NBA matchup and cruising along now, because we really seem to have our rhythm in the NBA.
Yeah, Chip's one of the best NBA handicappers you'll find over the last couple decades, folks. He's really good. He's right up there at our site on the leaderboard in the NBA. He mentioned that he had Chicago last night, who absolutely crucified
Yeah.
Indiana, 125-101. So, I mean, that was his megabucks plays. And keep an eye on those megabucks plays, or as Chipper used to call them, the A play.
The A
But
play.
now they're the megabucks plays. So that's his version of our 5 or 10 unit best bets. And Chip Chirim is one of the finest out there. Chip, you have anything in college basketball tonight? I think you mentioned you had basketball, but
I do. I have a game, and I'm definitely afraid of it. I'm scared of the Alabama, North Carolina side. I was very surprised that Carolina got a #1 seed. I mean, they didn't win the conference, and yet I was so impressed with their play. I mean, they really look great to me, and I understand now why they're #1 seed. But this is a tough game. Alabama's giving up 80 points a game, one of the least effective defenses in the country, because they are a high scoring unit. This game probably goes over the total in my mind because North Carolina is big and strong, and I can see this being a high scoring affair.
well, and the total indicates that at 173.5, which is sure to scare a lot of people away in terms of placing an over bet. But
Yeah.
Alabama coming off a uncharacteristic low scoring game in their last game against Grand Canyon, winning 72-61. But what alarmed me in that game for Alabama is they sent Grand Canyon to the free throw line 37 times in that game. And the Grand Canyon doesn't have the offensive talent that North Carolina has. And boy, oh boy, Grand Canyon's got to be kicking himself in the behind because you missed 14 free throws. You hold Alabama to 72 points. And this is an Alabama team, like Chip just alluded to, allowing over 80 points per game. You got to win those type of games.
You know, Ross, when you're giving up that many points and you're giving up that many free throws, it has to do with not being in position on defense.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mindset to have to play defense. And it doesn't look like the Crimson Tide have that right now. It looks like they're just trying to rely on making their 3-point shots and outscoring their opposition. And when it comes down to crunch time, in these big games, most likely it is the defense that's going to control the tempo.
And free throw shooting, I think, is an underrated factor too, Chip. And I think too many people lose sight of that. You need to keep an eye on, especially these days where the information is out there and readily available. Teams like Alabama to send the opposition to the free throw line quite frequently because they play aggressive defense. They're trying to play aggressive defense because they want to play up-tempo basketball and are willing to give up a few easy baskets to speed the tempo of the game up to their liking. And then you got a team like North Carolina that's a very good free throw shooting team. So little things like that come into play. The only thing that scares me with that game, and I did give out North Carolina earlier this week as my free pick, but I'm not going to use it on the premium side because just way, way too much money and very little line movement on the point spread in this game. On North Carolina.
And Ross, don't you think the line is a little short as it is? I mean,
yeah, well, #1 seed, right, against a team that's terrible defensively, absolutely.
And I understand the rating systems pan out like this is supposed to be the number, but passing the eye test is a whole nother thing. And you and I have instinct when we see a number on a game, and I thought this was a little bit short.
Yeah, to me, you either take the underdog or you stay away here. You know. And that sounds contradictory to the pick I made earlier this week. But don't forget, that pick was made on Monday or Tuesday. And that's why I'm not one of those guys that gets down early on games like a couple other guys on the network that are very good at doing that. But my philosophy's always been, Chip, is I like to wait not too long, but wait because I feel that if I isolate a game or identify a game I like, in all likelihood, I'm identifying the game that I think if I wait, I'm going to get a better line as opposed to thinking you're ahead. Because, I respect the bookmakers. A lot of guys don't. And we talked about this many times, Chip. The #1 problem with a lot of sports bettors out there, especially new ones, is they think they're smarter than the odds makers. And that's your first mistake. You don't need to fear them, right, Chip? But you need to respect the line they come out with.
Really. And, the numbers to me, I'm a numbers guy more than a talent guy. Evaluating talent, I think that's already been done, and I think it's given to you in the number, and it's just interpreting the number the way it comes out. But like I said, I was very impressed with this Carolina team, and quite surprised to tell you the truth, that they were got that number 1 seed, and they were so impressive when I watched them, when I saw them. I said, they're big. They're much bigger than I thought they were. And, well, North Carolina is still North Carolina, and we've got them again in this fight, Sweet 16.
Yep, there we go. So it should be an interesting matchup on many fronts. So we'll see.
Yep.
I can't see this not being a high scoring game, but again, that totals up there at 173.5. And when you have a 173.5, you can't have 2 or 3 minute lulls with no scoring like you see in some games,
With that number, they're expecting each team to make at least 1 basket every minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Both teams. So, and that's a pretty heavy pace.
Yeah,
for a college game. College game's only 40 minutes, so.
Yeah, but you look at Alabama, other than that Grand Canyon matchup, and certainly their games have followed that script, though. So you can't ignore that. In any event, we are still talking NBA, folks. I just haven't talked to Chip in a while, and he hasn't had an opportunity to chime in on college basketball on our show for quite some time. So excuse us if we got a little off track. I'm going to look at the Celtics and the Hawks tonight. The Celtics right now is 16-point road favorite and a total 225.5. If there's such a thing as a sucker play on a double-digit underdog in the NBA, this is it. But, I am not willing to lay this big a number on the road. But let me explain to you why I made that statement. These teams played on Monday night. The Celtics had a 30-point lead with 4 minutes to go in a half, and they end up losing the game by 2. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both played in that contest, and they're expected to play tonight. That line was 10.5. Tonight it's 16. Okay, so the average guy would look and say, well, Atlanta just knocked them off, and Boston blew a big lead, and Atlanta's got to have a lot of momentum after that furious comeback win. Well, then why did the line move to 10.5 to 16? Now, I granted, you look at Atlanta's injury list, and it's longer than the to-do items that my wife gives me on a weekly basis. There's 7 guys that are ruled out tonight, including leading scorer Trey. What the heck? Trey Young. Okay, excuse me. But anyway, look, here's the thing. Boston's gone over the total in their last 4. 236.8 points scored per game. The Celtics uncharacteristically have played not very good defense in those 4 games. As a matter of fact, this is one of the best defensive teams in the league when you look at the analytics, yet they've allowed their last 4 opponents to shoot over 50%. And again, that's a major reason why those games went over, because the Celtics are very difficult to lock up, especially against a team like Atlanta, who defense is an afterthought. They're 27th in the NBA in points per game allowed. They're probably even worse than that now, being so shorthanded. But this is also a Hawks team that, despite all those injuries and them having a depleted roster, they've shot 51.8% or better in the last 3. And they've gone over the total in their last 5. 234.2 points per game. And yeah, the majority of those players that are ruled out tonight were ruled out in all of those games as well. So it's not like, okay, they're without so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and they had them during that 5-game stretch. Right. That's not been the case. Boston, number 2 scoring offense in the league. Atlanta's the number 5 scoring offense in the league. And I think their style of play, it dictates how much they score, because with all the players they have out right now and the points per game they're missing out of the lineup, they're still scoring at a high rate. And that goes to the style of play they like to play. We talked about Alabama. Atlanta's similar on an NBA level. They're willing to give up some easy baskets to create faster tempo. And I think that's going to be the telltale sign tonight. I'd love to take Boston, but not at minus 16 on the road. So I'm going to go to the alternative method. And I really like this, though, even though it's the alternative. Atlanta and Boston over the total of 226, Chip.
The Celtics have been great all year, and for them to blow a 30-point lead, I was in total dismay. I mean, I couldn't believe that happened. And, you looked at today's game after them dropping that game 16. I'd rather pass. Because either way, I might be getting sucked in.
Well, didn't there a red flag had to go up? And if it didn't, after I told you all the specifics,
Right.
them blowing that big lead, them losing to Atlanta, and the line at that time being 10.5, and now it's 16 today. Same matchup, same venue, 3 days later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I say this is one of those rare times where I'm going to tell you that the double-digit underdog is a sucker play here, that's what I meant. And having said that, most times when I say that, I'll go the other way. But not in this instance. I ain't laying this big a number in the NBA on the road.
Right.
And by the way, folks, there's been 8 times this situation's occurred this year where a double-digit road favorite is coming off a loss in which their biggest lead in that loss was 20 or more points. In other words, they blew their previous game after having a lead of 20 or more, and they're double-digit road favorite in the next game. 8 times that's occurred this season. All 8 of those games have gone over the total. So Boston and Atlanta over 225.5, and Chip Chirimbus likes New Orleans and Milwaukee under 224.5. Don't forget, folks, 149 will get you not only myself and Chip, but the rest of the NCAA tournament, the NIT semifinals and final, and the CBI final, all for just 149. Still 15 games left in the NCAA tournament. Still 2 games left in the NIT, or 3 games left in the NIT, and 1 game in the CBI final. So take advantage of that offer. Don't forget Chip. He's coming off a big winner last night in the NBA, one of the finest NBA handicappers you'll find anywhere in the country or the world for that matter. Chip, always a pleasure, buddy. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you, Ross. It's great to be back, and good luck this week.
Thank you. Same to you as well. Don't forget, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be back in about 20 minutes. I'll be talking Major League Baseball with Mr. Doug Upstone. It's opening day in Major League Baseball. Tomorrow, I'll be back with our live show, and I'll be joined by Doug Upstone of DocSports.com and also Jesse Schule. Until then, take care and God bless, folks.